I strongly believe Ghana is currently in a more prudent hand than it used to be. I hope to see people prosecuted and jailed while their assets are taken by the state. We want to spend 302.5 billion Ghana cedis, but we can raise 268.1 billion Ghana cedis in a year for 35 million people. The question is, where will the rest of the money needed for all these come from? Hi, I'm Cyrus and welcome to my channel. If today happens to be your first time here, ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons for more of my videos when you find value on this network. I appreciate that, your effort and your support. Thank you so much. Now, Ghana's budget for 2026 was read in Parliament by the Finance Minister of Ghana yesterday. And I found one particular thing exciting about it, which I want to focus on in this video. Ladies and gentlemen, I first of all want to bring to your attention, especially for those who don't live in Ghana, this one truth. Ghana isn't where we want it to be. That is a fact. But we clearly aren't where we used to be. We are growing, not fast enough, but we aren't completely stagnated, as many may want you to think. I strongly believe Ghana is currently in a more prudent hand than it used to be. I love the idea of a 3-hour journey from Accra to Kumasi as proposed by the Finance Minister, which is to be completed in 3 years. I love that idea. And the commissioning of the first and second phases of the Tema Port extension. Ladies and gentlemen, I love that idea. I like the fact that almost all the major roads and other projects that started under the previous government is being continued. I like it. It's still early, but the signs are good with the stability of the Ghana cedis. And I hope to see people prosecuted and jailed while their assets are taken by the state for wasting Ghana's resources. Listen, I hope this government stays this focused in the next 3 years. And hopefully we see them fulfill at least 50% of their proposed projects. That's just by the way, ladies and gentlemen. You see, in 2024, the budget envelope, which is the total planned government expenditure for the fiscal year, was 226.7 billion Ghana cedis. At the time, it was equivalent to 15.82 billion US dollars, based on the conversion rate at the time. Ladies and gentlemen, for the next year, 2026, the Finance Minister just announced that 302.5 billion Ghana cedis is what is going to be Ghana's budget envelope. This is what we need to run the economy of this country in 2026. The figure is currently equivalent to 27.69 billion US dollars based on today's conversion. Meaning, progressively, Ghana is increasing in its expenditure over time. Now, I see this as a good thing, even though the gap between the increment from 2025's budget to next year's budget isn't that big. This is good because this is the first time the budget envelope of Ghana has crossed 300 billion Ghana cedis. Ladies and gentlemen, I see it as a good thing because when government spends and spends wisely, a lot of good things happen for the country. Things like roads get constructed, hospitals, for instance, are built, salaries are paid, the government's own machineries are oiled, and things move in order. The economy opens up, ladies and gentlemen, when government spends and people are able to do big businesses. When you look around the world, our expenditure as Ghanaians, as a country, is significantly lower than the expenditure of many states or provinces in other countries. Let me give you an example. Ghana's total expected expenditure in 2026 is $27.69 billion. Meanwhile, a city like Seoul in South Korea has a budget of $33 billion in 2025 for Seoul only. $27.69 billion for all of Ghana and $33 billion for only the capital city of Korea. I can go on and on with this to bring you to one point. Expenditure isn't the problem, because in order for a country or a city to run efficiently, there must be a lot of money involved. The problem, ladies and gentlemen, is with the generation of the money. We aren't winning in that department yet. And targeting businesses for taxes isn't the best route to take, even though it helps. The expenditure for the city of Johannesburg in South Africa only is 4.68 billion US dollars for this year. This is what I'm trying to say to you. Government of Ghana isn't spending as much as it should. That's why things are not done as efficient and fast as we would want them. But that is a problem, because the government of Ghana isn't making as much revenue as it should, because our economy is small. Ladies and gentlemen, we are running an $88 billion economy in Ghana. That's still small even compared to a country like Kenya, which has more than $130 billion economy. Therefore, our focus must be directed towards creative ways of increasing and generating more revenue. I have spoken on different occasions on this platform with ideas concerning how we as Ghanaians could increase our revenue exponentially. One of those has been about starting a state mining company, which the government hasn't shown any interest yet. And I still believe that that alone could become Ghana's main backbone in the next 10 years. But the interest isn't there yet. So let's move away from that, at least for now. I support the idea of a bigger government expenditure so long as we can be productive with our expenditure. This is what I mean. When money is pumped into any industry in this country, the industry or ministry should be able to generate money no matter the department or ministry that is. For instance, the police service must be in charge of installing their own street lights and cameras, whether on the roads or in street corners, and there must be fines appropriated for offenders to pay that goes to the police department. Money cannot just go in and be lost as we've done in the past. And I'm happy with the new page the Ghana government has opened. I hope they keep it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm trying to be honest with this. We haven't been prudent with spending for so long. And if you have been watching the Public Accounts Committee hearings, you'll be blown away with how state executives waste state resources. The problem, therefore, is about how to generate more revenue and how not to waste it. But when you look at the figure quoted by the finance minister and compare that to the expected revenue and grants for 2026, ladies and gentlemen, you are tempted to ask one particular question. This is what I mean. The state has proposed to spend 302.5 billion Ghana cedis for 2026. That's the required amount to keep everything in this country running. We get that. But the expected revenue plus grants put together is 268.1 billion Ghana cedis. We want to spend 302.5 billion Ghana cedis, but we can raise 268.1 billion Ghana cedis in a year for 35 million people. The question is, where will the rest of the money needed for all these come from? There is a budget deficit of 34.4 billion Ghana cedis. That's what we need to find to support this budget if it stays the same throughout 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, the current finance minister so far has a lot of goodwill coming from objective Ghanaians. Prices are pretty stable because the dollar to Ghana cedis is fairly stable. But the question still remains, where are we getting the extra needed funds from? When you take a look at one particular contemporary of Ghana in Africa, ladies and gentlemen, we aren't even spending as much as they do. For instance, when I look at Ghana's economy, Kenya always comes to mind. Every time I look at Ghana's economy, Kenya comes to mind. Kenya, in my estimation, is Ghana's contemporary. Kenya is bigger and better than Ghana right now in terms of economy and population. That's a fact. And that's a country Ghana can really learn from, especially when it comes to tourism and attracting foreign direct investment. Kenya is expected to spend 4.29 trillion shillings for next year. That's about 365 billion Ghana cedis. We will spend $27.69 billion next year. Kenya will spend at least $33.3 billion the same next year. Kenya will spend $5.6 billion more than we will for next year because they are making more revenue from tourism and from foreign direct investment. And we are not. Ladies and gentlemen, our economy has the potential to double under the right kind of leadership, and nothing can stop us. I want to believe that finally we may be seeing something close to a good government under this regime. And I want to say kudos to the Finance Minister, Cassiel Ato Forson, and to the President in extension for putting him in this position to do what he's been able to do. I'll be bringing you up to speed on the budget, which has been read in Parliament now in next year from time to time so that we can juxtapose their performance with what the budget actually said. I'm Cyrus, and this is Tuntum Network in Accra, Ghana. We need your subscription to go viral. Please help us. Just click and share, and that will be sufficient for us. I'll see you in the next one very soon. God bless our homeland, Ghana, and make our nation great and strong. It is bye-bye for now.